Hello and welcome to this week's Prepare for the Fair series, Convincing Cover Letters. This is session one of the Convincing Cover Letters series. We will be looking at how to dissect a job announcement. And this is important for cover letters. It's also really important for developing a resume and for interviews too. So it's not just for cover letters. What we'll cover today is sort of an overview of the process, like kind of the steps that you go through. We'll talk about assessing the legitimacy of a job announcement. There are job announcements out there that are not, um, I wouldn't say that they're fake, but they aren't necessarily kind of the truth and the whole truth. We'll walk through a job announcement and kind of look at what things are important out of that announcement. And then I will share some cover letter resources with you. So, first, the process. Obviously, you need to find the job announcement. Handshake is a really good start. For those of you who aren't finding what you need on Handshake, LinkedIn is probably the next best place, and then you can move on to things like Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, and so forth. Locally, northforce.org is a really great option as well. Um, as far as what else might be important along with the job announcement, you can definitely look for more information around that job announcement. So, for instance, um, is it found on the company website? Um, what might the website give you as far as information that could help you in applying for that job? Is there more about the company, the people who work there, the job itself on LinkedIn? What can you find out by the looking at the people who also do that job on LinkedIn? There would be general web research or general web search on the company or the job title just to see what comes up, to see is this pretty standard? What just again, what other information can I glean? You can always use ONET Online. So you see the address there, onetonline.org, Occupational Outlook Handbook, which comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. These last two kind of feed into each other. They are the most current data for the United States. They are based off of the most recent tax year's information as far as salaries and such. But you can type in any job title or career, and they will spit out a bunch of information about that specific occupation or career title. All of those things can be just really helpful as far as gaining insight and figuring out what you're getting into. You can circle the keywords as far as knowledge, skills, abilities, and specialized skills go within the job announcement. And then the last thing is you want to ask yourself, are this announcement and this employer legitimate? So those are the things you go through: finding the announcement, finding out any other information that you can find about the job and about the company, circling the keywords, literally going through the announcement and figuring out what are the important things, and then asking yourself, is this legitimate? So when it comes to assessing the legitimacy of a job announcement, you need to listen to your gut. Sometimes you read a job announcement and you think, is this too good to be true? Like it might have a sky high salary, it might promise you can get rich quick. Excuse me there. Um, Maybe the job announcement is vague. Maybe there are a bunch of typos. So these two things are kind of big red flags for me. Whenever I see that, I start to wonder, somebody trying to run a scam here. Can you find the job announcement in other places? So, like on the company's website, is it also on LinkedIn? If you can find it on those places, then chances are it's legitimate. Is the company legitimate? So, a lot of times on Handshake, those are pre approved by career centers and so on and so forth. So, they can't post unless it's approved. Of course, you should always check a search engine, run the company name for scams. Are they asking you to pay money up front or are they asking too much personal information up front? You should never have to pay money up front, give a lot of personal information. Really, name, email, phone number is about all you should ever have to give up front to get access. They may ask you to sign up for an account, but again, it shouldn't be anything personal going into that. And then, is the communication professional and appropriate for the workplace? So they're probably, doing things, they're not doing things like, hey, or hi, or being like really informal with you. Um, Again, all of these things are just really signs of it not being legitimate. So let's go ahead and dissect a job announcement. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a Word document here. That was my plan. Oh, here it is. So I just pulled an internship off of Handshake, and I pulled something that would qualify based on my profile. So I have a complete profile in Handshake because it's trying to match up the skills and such if I do that. So I put in for full-time internship. Um, I do have a background in wildlife and fisheries biology, so hopefully this won't surprise you too much. This is for aviculture internship. Avi or avi comes from avian, which means bird. Um, so you can see about the role. I have to get this application in by mid-March. It was posted in early January. The seasonal role will be happening between these dates. You get $700 per month, and you have to be authorized to work in the United States. It describes the the role as far as like how many they're looking for. Um, they talk about the International Crane Foundation, also known as ICF. So it will, describe about that, and then the website is here, and you always want to check that and make sure it goes where it says it's going. It'll tell you the duration here. So start between March and May. So this notice the March through May thing. This is going to go pretty fast by the time they get the apps in. So my guess is that as soon as they get an application, they are reviewing those right away. So it's, a lot of times it's to your benefit to get your application in like one of the first chances, like get it in as soon as you can, is what I'm trying to say. And then the description piece here tells you what aviculture interns will gain. So what you're going to learn. So go ahead and, read through those things, which are important. These are the additional opportunities you might get. And then it talks more about this stipend that's provided. So the position includes on-site housing, so that takes a good bit of your cost away because you have to be there to work with the birds. And they do talk about the work week and days off, um, holidays and different hours and stuff. So this is typically probably not going to be a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 gig. It's going to vary. And they're very clear with you about that up front. Now, qualifications. This is the piece that you really need to pay attention to, this qualifications piece. So you have to have a valid driver's license. You have to commit to the 6 months. They talk about the college experience, animal care experience. Notice it says preferred here. Ability to work independently, communication skills, judgment skills, physical skills, ability to work outdoors, varied schedule, which again, they indicated that up here, or the varied schedule. And you must be eligible to work in the United States, and they indicated that above as well. So these are the things you want to hit on most definitely, right? And so then we'll go back up to that in a second. But the application procedures, right? They want a one-page cover letter, including your start date availability and your housing proposal. And I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it looks like you can email them to get more information. A resume, notice they tell you no more than 2 pages, and then information for references. And then they tell you what subject line to use. So follow these directions very, very carefully. Anytime you see anything for an application procedure, follow those directions very carefully. And then because I pulled this from Handshake, it's matching my profile with the Crane Foundation's candidate preferences. And then again, because I pulled this from Handshake, there's going to be more about the International Crane Foundation. So again, this just helps me understand that this is a legitimate announcement. They tell me about the size, where they're located, and sort of what they do. And I can expand that description when I'm in Handshake. And then I can go out to the Crane Foundation profile in Handshake and on the web. So I can find this ICF, International Crane Foundation, in other places. So let's go back up to this qualification piece. So, what this first bullet tells me is that on the resume somewhere, I definitely want to list, maybe in my certifications, that I have a valid driver's license. Now, I don't need to put my driver's license number there because they'll probably ask for it if they decide to hire you. But you can say that you have a valid, Class D Wisconsin driver's license or something like that. And then you'll put when it expires. Um, you definitely want to write about your availability. So either in the cover letter or on the resume. Um, you need to let them know that you're at least a junior or you have an associate degree in school. Um, so that could go pretty much in your education section. And then animal care experience, you would need to, write about that. Ability to work independently. So you'll want to write into your bulleted duty statements anytime you worked independently and with a team. Times when you worked without a lot of supervision. You need to, definitely your oral and written communication skills, whether that was class projects, work study. So those pieces become really important. Times when you had to be reliable, use judgment, um, and then maybe learn quickly would be another one. Anytime that you had to do anything physically demanding, you might want to work that in someplace. And then probably in the cover letter, you want to talk, these are the kinds of jobs that you get if you enjoy being outdoors and if you enjoy, working in nature. And so you might want to talk about, potentially some hobbies or if you've been an outdoor worker in the past. Um, it seems to me too that it might be a good idea maybe in the cover letter to write about your just an open availability since this will be a varied work schedule. And then typically this, I wouldn't worry so much about authorized to work in the US piece in the resume or cover letter because that's something they're going to, ask you at some point in time. Okay, so again, following these application procedure pieces right here that I'm circling to a T. Right, so I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the PowerPoint. So now you should be ready to write your cover letter. So next week we'll be digging into formatting a little bit more. But before we talk about that, the letters page on the UWS website, this first bullet here, that is where you'll find all the information about writing cover letters, including the second bullet, which is the basic cover letter template. And you literally can, follow that word for word as for what you should put in there and the spacing and such. And then the cover letters is a branding tool on the resumes page in the video section. So go to the resumes page, go down into the video section. That's a really good video to watch to kind of wrap your head around what the cover letter is asking you to do. And then LinkedIn Learning, which is something that you have access to the entire LinkedIn Learning catalog, which is a really great resource if you haven't been in there yet. But as far as cover letters go, if you type cover letter in the search bar, there are many options from taking a 20-minute course to much shorter videos on the topic. And those can be just incredibly helpful. So next, it's next week, Monday night, we'll be talking about formatting do's and don'ts for cover letters. So that's a pretty simple thing. That's it for today. That's all we have. So with that, I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. Take good care out there.